boys and girls. Today we are going to be reviewing our Unit 7 Week 2 test. The first thing that we are going to do is we are going to read the questions. The reason why we read the questions first is so we can have the questions that they're going to ask us in mind as we are reading the story. Okay, so this is going to be called a Fisherman's Surprise. So let's read the questions first. The first question says, this question has two parts. Answer part A and then answer part B. Okay, so we're going to answer part A first and then part B. So let's see what these questions want us to answer. What is the main idea of this passage? So as we're reading, let's make sure that we identify the main idea as we're reading. Okay, let's keep that in mind. Part B says, which sentence from the passage supports the answer in part A? So I know that I'm going to need to figure out the answer for part A before I can answer part B. Okay, so I'm going to see which of these sentences supports what I said here. So this is our evidence. Okay, let's see number 2. What can you tell from the picture? So we don't really have to read the story to answer this one, but we'll just answer it at the end. So for this one, we are going to have to look at the picture in order to answer that question. Number 3 says, choose 2 sentences from the passage. So remember, passage is another word for the text that we're reading. So choose 2 sentences from the passage that explain what scientists learned from the jars and the ship. Okay, so as we're reading, let's make sure that if we find something that says about scientists learning about jars and the ship, let's make sure to highlight it. Number 4 says, underline the sentence from paragraph 1 that uses informal language. Okay, so we're going to read this after we read our passage. Number 5, which sentence could be added to paragraph 5? Okay, so this question, I don't think we need to read the passage in order to answer it. Okay, but we'll still answer it after we read. Number 6 says, choose 2 details that the reader can learn about the jars from the picture that is not stated in the passage. So we're going to have to read the passage first in order to solve this. So we're going to need 2 details that the reader can learn about the jars from the picture that is not stated in the passage. So let's make sure that when we read about jars, we put a little star next to it because we know we're going to be asked about that. Okay, and number 7 says, what is the main topic of paragraph 4? So when we get to paragraph 4, we're going to put a little star because we know we're going to be asked about the main topic in paragraph 4. Okay, and I like to read the questions beforehand so I know what I'm going to be asked. Okay, you don't have to do that if you don't want, but that's a good strategy. So here we go. I'm going to read A Fisherman's Surprise. By studying things from the past, scientists are able to learn about people who lived long ago. So there's scientists that learn about people who lived long ago. Sometimes people look for ancient artifacts for a long time. Artifacts is another name for things, okay? Ancient artifacts, old things. Sometimes this old stuff is found by just plain luck. This is how a 2,000-year-old sunken ship was found off the coast of Italy. Wow, so they found a 2,000-year-old sunken ship. So I think that's important. That's why I'll highlight it. In 2012, a fisherman was hauling up his net and he noticed something odd. When he lifted the net from the water, he did not see any fish. Instead, he saw a clay jar. Ooh, I see something about jars already. The jar looked very old. Divers came to the area and recovered many Roman jars. They also found the ship that had carried them. So here I have information about the ship and the jars. Scientists had many questions about the ship. What was inside the jars? Where did they come from? Where was the ship going? Luckily, the ship was protected by the mud around it. Many jars were whole. They held oil, grain, and pickled fish. From this, scientists learned what Romans ate 2,000 years ago. Scientists then studied the ship. They learned that it was sailing from Rome to Spain. The jars were going to be traded in Spain. This helped scientists learn what things Romans sold in other places. Oh, so they learned that they were taking the jars from Rome to Spain. Learning about the past is like solving a puzzle. These jars told scientists a lot about ancient Rome. By finding ancient items, scientists are able to learn about people who lived long ago. Even simple clay jars can hold amazing secrets. Okay. So now that we read the passage, let's tackle these questions. Okay. This question has two parts. Answer part A and then part B. So, part A. What is the main idea of this passage? So, main idea is in one sentence, we're going to say what the whole thing was about. Okay. A says scientists learned a lot from some jars in a ship found near Italy. Okay, that sounds like it might be right. Fishermen never know what they will find in their nets. So they put this to be tricky because they did say that fishermen found these jars. But is the whole thing about fishermen and what they find? No, so I don't think it's B. C says the people of ancient Rome ate oil, grain, and pickled fish. This is another tricky one because it does tell us that they ate oil, grain, and pickled fish. But is the whole thing, the whole passage, is it about what Romans eat? I don't think so. And let's see what D says. The sunken ship was protected by mud. That's another true fact. It does say that the sunken ship was protected by mud. So that actually happened. But is the whole thing, the whole passage about a sunken ship that was protected by mud? That's not what the whole thing is about. So they're tricky. These questions are tricky. The answer is A. The passage was about scientists that learned a lot from some jars in a ship found near Italy. They found out what Romans ate 2,000 years ago. They found what they traded with Spain. Okay, so now that we have the answer to part A, now we can answer part B. So this says, which sentence from the passage supports the answer in part A? So we have to find a sentence here that supports part A. This is the show me the proof. If you're saying this is the answer, why? Luckily, the ship was protected by the mud around it. Does this mud have to do with jars in a ship found near Italy? That doesn't sound right to me. Scientists had many questions about the ship. They did have a lot of questions. Let's see. These jars told scientists a lot about ancient Rome. Yes, I think that's the answer because scientists learned a lot from some jars in a ship found near Italy. Yes, I think this might be the answer. Let's see the next one. Sometimes people look for ancient artifacts for a long time. So this is true, but does that have to do anything with the jars in a ship found near Italy? I don't think it does. So the one that supports A, that scientists learned a lot from some jars in a ship, is this sentence. These jars told scientists a lot about ancient Rome. Do you see how these connect? The jars told scientists about Rome, and that's what was found in the ship near Italy. Okay? Seems a little complicated, but we did it. Okay. Number 2. What can you tell from the picture? So let's look at the picture. So what can we tell from the picture? So I'm guessing it's these 2 pictures. It doesn't really specify which one. Where the ship and jars were found, can we tell where they're found? I mean, we can tell that that's the ocean, that it was found in the ocean. So maybe, okay, what the fisherman catches most often? Does this tell us what fishermen catch more often? Nope. Why the fisherman was so important? Does this picture tell us why the fisherman was important? No. I wouldn't know anything about a fisherman looking at those pictures. I know that's not the answer. Does this tell us what ancient Roman ships looked like? Yes, this tells me what they looked like. So my answer is D. This one made more sense than where the ship and jars were found because we can't really tell where exactly they were found. So I would say that D sounds the most correct. Okay? So let's read number 3. Choose 2 sentences from the passage that explain what scientists learned from the jars in the ship. Okay, so this is what they learned from the jars in the ship. Many jars were whole. Is that what they learned? I don't know about that one. From this, scientists learned what Romans ate 2,000 years ago. Yes, they did learn that. The jars were going to be traded in Spain. Yeah, that was too. Remember? So where is that? From this, scientists learned what Romans ate 2,000 years ago. And they learned that it was sailing from Rome to Spain. So the jars were going to be traded in Spain is correct as well. Learning about the past is like solving a puzzle. Well, I mean, that's true, but that doesn't tell us what scientists learned from the jars in the ship. So that's not it. And the jar looked very old. Well, yes, it did look very old, but that's not what the scientists learned from the jars in the ship. So my answers are B and C. That the jars were going to be traded in Spain and that the scientists learned what the Romans ate. Okay? All right, so let's read number 4. This one says, underline the sentence from paragraph 1. So this is paragraph 1 right here, that uses informal language. Remember, informal language is how you talk to your buddies, okay? So let's read this first paragraph. By studying things from the past, scientists are able to learn about people who lived long ago. Sometimes people look for ancient artifacts for a long time. Sometimes this old stuff is found by just plain luck. This is how a 2,000-year-old sunken ship was found off the coast of Italy. So which of these sentences sounds like something you would say to your friend? I think that it is this old stuff is found by just plain luck. That's what I think. That's what I would tell to a friend. Like, hey, you won Uno by just plain luck, dude. That's probably what I would tell a friend. So let's see. Which sentence could be added? Oh, so the answer for that is this old stuff is just found by plain luck. Okay, that's the answer. Number 5 says, which sentence could be added to paragraph 5? So let's go to paragraph 5 and let's remind ourselves what it says. So it says, learning about the past is like solving a puzzle. These jars tell scientists a lot about ancient Rome. By finding ancient items, scientists are able to learn about people who lived long ago. Even simple clay jars can hold amazing secrets. So let's see, what can we add to that paragraph? Many mysteries can be solved by finding artifacts. I would say that might be correct. Many mysteries, kind of like amazing secrets, right? Finding ancient items is okay. Would you say that here? Finding ancient items is okay. I wouldn't say that. Scientists learn a lot by looking at old stuff. That sounds kind of right to me too. That might be it. Ships are cool things to find. Would you write, if you were writing a passage, would you say, ships are cool things to find? That sounds really informal to me. I don't know about that one. I don't think that's the one. So let's see. Many mysteries can be solved by finding artifacts. That sounds right. Or scientists learn a lot by looking at old stuff. I don't know about this one. Maybe that should be said sooner in the passage. I would say the one for me that sounds the most correct is many mysteries can be solved by finding artifacts. I would say that because here it says amazing secrets, and secrets makes me think of mysteries. So I would say the answer is A. Okay. Number 6 says, choose 2 details that the reader can learn about the jars from the picture that is not stated in the passage. So what can we learn from here that we didn't learn in what we just read? Some jars held oil. Well, we read about that in the passage, and we can't really tell in the picture what they held. So I don't think that's the right answer. Okay. Oh, and it says 2 details. The jars had handles. Yeah, I can tell that they had handles. It didn't tell me in the passage that they had handles. I can tell that by the pictures. I think that's the answer for that one. Some jars held grain. It told me in the passage that they held grain. And I can't tell if they have grain in there, so that's not the answer. The jars were on the ship. Can I tell that these jars were on the ship? I think so, right? Oh, but it did tell me that they were on the ship. So that's not something, because the passage did tell me that. The jars were oval shaped. They are oval shaped, and it didn't say anything about them being oval shaped in the passage. I figured that out by looking at the picture. So my answers are B and E. Okay. And the last question pertaining to the passage says, what is the main topic of paragraph 4? So let's look at paragraph 4. Scientists then studied the ship. They learned that it was sailing from Rome to Spain. The jars were going to be traded in Spain. This helped scientists learn what things Romans sold in other places. So what is the main topic of paragraph 4? What scientists learned from the ship? Okay, yeah. They did tell me what they learned. They learned that they sailed to Spain. Does this tell me how fishermen catch fish? That's a silly one. I know that's not it. Sailing away from Rome. Does this tell me anything about sailing away from Rome? I don't think so. That's kind of like a weird one. Okay. What was traded in the jars? What was traded in the jars? They told me about that in paragraph 3, not in paragraph 4. So that's how they trick you. If you don't pay attention to the little numbers, they'll trick you that way. So I know that my answer is A, what scientists learned from the ship. Okay. Okay, number 8. This is where let's read it first. Sorry about that. For questions 8 through 12, choose the correct word to complete each sentence. So you're going to choose one of these to complete the sentence. Okay. I was blank in an apartment building. Is it live, living, living with 2 V's, or living with an E? And remember when we talked about that when a verb ends with E, you drop that E? So that one's not right. It's living spells like that. Okay? Jesse is blank on the beach. Jesse is sit on the beach. That's not how we say it. Jesse is sat on the beach. That's not how we say it. Jesse is sitting on the beach, on the bench. I'm sorry, not beach, bench. And Jesse is sitting on the bench. So remember how if we have one short vowel sound, we double the consonant. So sitting is spelled like this, okay? With 2 T's. Okay. Manny was blank cans off the shelf. Manny was taking cans off the shelf. Manny was taked cans off the shelf. Manny was taking with 2 K's off the shelf, or Manny was take cans off the shelf. So here, the A is not a short vowel sound. Aching, taking, right? So that's a long vowel sound, not a short vowel sound. So we don't need to double the K. So it's not this one. It's taking with 1 K. Number 11 says, I am blank my clothes in the attic. I am store my clothes in the attic. I am storing my clothes in the attic, and this has an E there. I am storing without the E, or I am storing with 2 R's. Okay, so the answer is C, because we drop the E in store, right? When a verb ends with an E, we drop the E and then we add ing. Okay, storing. And 12 says, Belle was blank her toys away. Belle was put her toys away. Belle was puts her toys away. Or Belle was putting her toys away. Or putting with 2 T's. Put, that's one short vowel sound. So that means that we double the T. So my answer is D. Okay, so that is the end of our test. I hope this was helpful. See you soon. Bye-bye.